Hello guys, I'm back again to talk about throwing knives. Throwing knives more about their effectiveness and if they're really that useful. Um, let's talk about their mass and velocity because those are two main things that determine a projectile's usefulness or ability to their stopping power. Many throwing knives are smaller than these. They're usually like this, but this is a switchblade. So how about a 2-inch blade or something? Not much bigger than this switchblade's blade. But this I happen to have some bigger ones. So because these bigger, they'll have more mass than smaller ones, but still not a lot of mass. And the heavier the object is, the more it's going to hurt or more damage it's going to do when it hits because it has more power behind it. Let's take a baseball, for example. If someone throws a baseball at you for 60 miles an hour, it's going to hurt. But would you rather have them throw a baseball 60 miles an hour at you or a bowling ball? See my point? The bowling ball is heavier, so at the same given speed, it's going to hit harder. So, bigger throwing knives would hit harder than smaller ones, but they still don't have a lot of mass. You may say, well, what about bullets? Bullets don't have a lot of mass. And no, they don't. This is 22 bullet. Not particularly known for its lethality by any means, but the point still stands. Objects like bullets that don't have a lot of mass make up for it in velocity. The fastest known that I could think or come up with for throwing knife was thrown at 16 meters per second, which is rather fast. However, the 22 bullet, not a lot of room for powder in the back or anything. It travels at about 1,435 feet per second. And a 12 gauge shotgun shell, this is only 20 gauge, but a 12 gauge shotgun shell slug can travel about 1,560 feet per second, significantly higher than that of a throwing knife. So they don't have much mass, but they have considerably greater velocity, which makes up for it. Throwing knives don't have a lot of mass or velocity when thrown, so it doesn't make as much damage when it hits. Yes, you always can increase the weight, but then that's going to create a lot of effort to throw it, and you're going to lose range, which brings me to another point. The range of a throwing knife is extremely limited because resistance will meet. When you throw it, it spins, and as it spins, it's going to meet wind resistance, which will slow it. Now, there is a spinless throw, in which case you would throw your knife, and instead of spinning towards the target, it would just travel in a line like that. However, that has less range than the spinning throw because it doesn't carry its own momentum like a spinning throw would. Accuracy is another issue because if you're doing the spinning throw, there's less time that the point is actually aimed at the target, so it has a chance to hit all through. And yes, that can be reduced with training. However, it's still a possible issue. As a spinless throw, it's more time spent where the point is pointed at the target, but again, you lose your range due to not being able to carry its own momentum. The range, it's like I said, it's decreased by the wind, and this meets less wind resistance this way because you don't have this whole entire edge getting hit by wind as it spins. It's more piercing the wind. And smaller knives will have be more aerodynamic. However, they are lighter, so they're going to be more affected by the wind that does hit them. So you do get some range off a throwing knife based on your skill with throw, the weight of the knife, and the how hard you throw it, and the object throwing at it. You get different ranges, but even then, your farthest range isn't going to be significantly farther than anything you could use just a plain melee weapon for. So what I'm getting at is that you could take a few steps forward and just thrust at them instead of throwing it, because as you thrust, you get your you keep your hand behind it. You're keeping that power behind it to push it through their body. Whereas the throwing knife, once you let go, as soon as you let go of the throwing knife, its velocity is going to slowly decrease, and it's going to have to continue on with enough force behind it to penetrate the body. Whereas if you were to stick somebody and realize, hey, I didn't thrust hard enough and it's only so deep, you just push harder and it would continue going the rest of the way in. So why are they so popular? Well, they're popular because movies make them out to be, you just flip around, now this guy's dead, or instant kill, and that doesn't happen. It doesn't work like that. Parlor tricks, so to speak, you just sit there and you throw it to a board or you throw it to a wall. That's pretty fun. Not very good at it myself, but it's cool. It looks cool. What can you use it for? Well, like I said, you can use it for trick or for sport. Some groups have been known to use it for hunting. However, it's small animals. It's nothing like a bear or a deer. It's more like rabbits. And even then they use large throwing knives, so they have more mass. So what could you use instead of a throwing knife? Well, obviously you could use a firearm, but that's significantly different from a throwing knife. If you want something more traditional, so not a firearm, you could use bow and arrow. You get a lot more range based on the poundage of your bow. You may get more power. You should get more power. You'll get more range, better accuracy depending on your skill with the bow. Yes, some may argue that the bow takes a lot of skill to use, which it can. To master a bow, it takes a lot of training, a lot of practice. However, the same is to be said about a throwing knife. To be able to use a throwing knife effectively, even like just to simply hit your target, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of training. You also could use tomahawk or throwing axes. Native Americans are well known for using tomahawks. Certain civilizations would use them to break shields. They throw them and hit a shield at close range and break it before they got there, or at least damage a shield before they actually got to their opponent. You could also use spears. I don't happen to have a spear. But they were common too. They would be commonly used with a shield. They'd use shield and spear, and they could be thrown. Javelins, which is a lot like a spear, were popular too. They're thrown rather long distances to take out opponents, and they had rather aerodynamic designs, as they were just aligned almost an enlarged arrow, minus the fletching. Javelins, like I said, were similar. Slingshots were good. Both types of slingshots, whether it be the ones that you stretch and pull back, or the ones you swing around your head. These ones that have like the band on them, or the stretchy object, I know that sounds super professional, that you pull and release, that works basically sort of similar to a bow, and its power comes from the bands that are attached to it, and just like a bow gets its power from its limbs. The slingshot that you swing around your head works because it's like an extension of your arm and almost acts as if a lever. So when you release it, it has that extra velocity to fling it, which those can take some skill to use as well. So as far as using a throwing knives in combat, it's just not going to work. Maybe it's a distraction, which isn't by any means a problem. That's actually an effective way to. If you had throwing knives, you would throw it at an opponent, he'd flinch, and you'd just thrust forward with your sword or other knife or whatever it may be. So as a distraction is a good tactic. But as far as killing, it's just not going to work. Thanks for watching.